I'm very much eliminating distractions for the rest of 2024. That includes maintenance. I just can't anymore. How much money do you spend monthly?
I think anywhere from 300 to like 1,000 for hair.
Nails are 175.
I have microblading, don't do my brows, but I do wax them 20, 30.
You got laser waxing, 150.
That trip to go get like beauty products, face cleansers and all that, 200 to like 400 easily.
And the bag be this little when you walk out.
With nothing in it.
With nothing in it.
How much are you all spending on maintenance monthly? I'm curious to know what that number looks like for you.
Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. And if this is your first time here, hello, welcome. This is Essential Patience and I Am Patience. On this channel, we have conversations about societal impacts on our finances and lives and how to take back our power so that we can make more intentional decisions for our finances and our lives. So if that sounds good to you, be sure to subscribe to this channel because there's so many of these conversations that comes to you on a weekly basis. So welcome to today's video where we're going to be talking about the beauty standard, its financial impact, and how people are morphing into Frankenstein's monster. We're going to have so many different parts into this video, but this is a long conversation. I have so much to talk about. I'm trying to explore so many different areas, and I will not be able to hit everything as precisely as possible, but if there's some areas that we want to further explore in the future, I will be sure to do that. And if that sounds good to you, like this video and let's begin. The pursuit of beauty has been a persistent endeavor throughout human history, but modern beauty standards, particularly for women, have been increasingly exacting and pervasive. These standards often compel individuals to alter their natural beauty and appearances in pursuit of an ever-elusive ideal. In many ways, our society's obsession with creating this perfect look of a person is reminiscent of Frankenstein's monster, an artificial being assembled from different parts to meet the visual perfection. In today's video, we're going to be exploring how modern beauty standards reflects the tale of Frankenstein's monster. We're going to delve into theories that will explain beauty and the beauty standards and examine the substantial financial burden that comes with trying to meet these beauty standards and maintain them over time. I'm in no way trying to say that people who get plastic surgery or cosmetic procedures are hideous. Absolutely not. That would be an untrue blanket statement. It depends on the surgeon, probably who they went to, how much they paid. People can look very beautiful. Some of them, they look unhumanly beautiful after plastic surgery and cosmetic procedures. And some of them, not so good. So you can look really good, not so good, and everything in between. Beauty standards have always existed. No matter what time periods came before or will come after, they will probably always exist. And it's influenced by society, the culture, and even technological changes.
Imagine that you are in the Middle Ages, and to fit into the standards of the time, the first step to getting there is to have a big forehead. And if you don't have it, shave it off. Well, women shaved 2 centimeters around their heads. The bigger your forehead, the more sensual you were. The hair had to be as long as possible. There were even reports of hair extensions, although they were not widely accepted by societal norms, which often deemed them sinful. The most coveted shade of hair was linen, and to achieve this color they took goat urine, mixed it with saffron, applied it to their hair, and left it in the sun for hours until the hair dried. The eyelashes were plucked with tweezers and the entire eyebrow was removed with a razor because this was attractive to them. Your body had to be very plump because the chubbier you were, the richer you were to be able to buy food. As hygiene wasn't one of those things, people used herbal bags, similar to tea bags, and left it on intimate body areas and armpits to improve odor.
And throughout the years, there has been several theories that have come along to try to explain the reason we find some people more beautiful than others, especially from culture to culture, from country to country, and even from continent to continent. And typically when we are looking at a lot of the beauty standards of the past, theories that explain it link it to being healthy and being fertile, especially for women. So if you look at a woman with big hips, I guess they say that those are like birthing hips. Men will be more attracted to that. In some cultures, they look at bigger women to be like well-fed women, so you're not being starved. So women will be eating a lot to give off being healthy and coming from a well-off family. But of course, the ones that have always persisted is about clear skin, being healthy, young, and youthful. And one of the ones that I personally hate the most is the symmetrical beauty standard. It's like, how symmetrical is your face? The more symmetrical it is, the more beautiful that you are. And the reason I despise that theory is because of what it has been used to do, more so than the theory itself. Because if it's a theory, it's exactly that. But the way people have used it to disparage other people of different communities, especially minority communities, I find that to be problematic. The one I find to be most believable is the social learning theory. And this theory suggests that our perception of beauty is learned through media, culture, and our environmental exposure shapes our ideas and our ideals for attractiveness and what we consider to be beautiful. In our contemporary society, beauty standards are no longer just culturally specific, but increasingly becoming global. And I'm sure if you're on the internet, you can see how the media continues to propagate a homogenized ideal of a beauty standard that blends features from different ethnic backgrounds or racial backgrounds into one person. At some point, it almost looks creepy. For example, plump lips associated with Africans and African Americans, high cheekbones which are associated with Europeans, and then silky straight hair which is often found in Asian societies. And it's all just put into one beauty standard for people to try to become that ideal. While we can agree that there's some people who are just conventionally attractive or seen as conventionally attractive in our society, we must also not forget the impact of slavery and colonization, not just on our world, but what that meant for our world and what that meant for the beauty standard. As Europeans traveled and traded and colonized and influenced the world, they took along their beauty standards and enforced them in places that they are, making beauty not something that is culturally specific, but becoming morphed into the European beauty standard. So beauty became less regional and more universal. Today, American media is the most popular across the globe, and its representation of blondness, thinness, and whiteness carries along throughout the homes of billions of people across the world. And many people try to emulate these beauty standards, and none more than the people who keep seeing this day after day, not just on TV, but on social media every day, multiple times per day. A 2019 article by Leah Donnella called Beauty in the Eyes of the Colonizer states that the association between beauty and whiteness has proved hard to shake. There is a reason why so many people still think that an all-American beauty as a thin, blonde, blue-eyed woman. It wasn't until 1940 that the rules were changed to allow women of color to enter the Miss America pageant. Before that, the official rules stated that contestants had to be of good health and of the white race. To really understand today's beauty standards, we have to first understand how it is being propagated to the world, which is through the growing access to the internet and to social media. According to a 2023 Pew Research, YouTube by large is the most widely online used platform. 83% of US adults have reportedly used YouTube before. 68% have used Facebook. 47% have used Instagram. 35% have used Pinterest. 33% have used TikTok. 30% have used LinkedIn. 29% have used WhatsApp. 27% have used Snapchat before. X, formerly known as Twitter, came in at 22%, as well as Reddit. So we can see that a lot of people have used some form of social media. It is important to know that these numbers do not denote to the total number of Americans who have used social media or continue to use social media on a daily basis, but rather to reach a conclusion that most people in fact do use some form of social media. For example, I am active on Instagram and on LinkedIn, but I once in a while check in on X, formerly known as Twitter, but I'm not really active on. I also use WhatsApp. I used to use Snapchat, but I've not used Snapchat in years. But then there are people who are exclusively on Facebook. I've never used Facebook. While there are people that I'm sure you know, I know, who are active on basically every single social media that you can think of. And I know it's a running joke that older people are the ones who are on Facebook and you're gonna meet your aunt, your grandmother. But there is some level of truth to that because Instagram, Snapchat, and TikTok have majority users who are under the age of 30. 78% of people between the ages of 18 and 29 say they have an Instagram account and they use Instagram. This is less than 15% for people over the ages of 65. And only 4% of American adults over the age of 65 say they even use Snapchat. And this is drastically less than people under the age of 30, of which 65% say they do use Snapchat. And for TikTok, 62% of people between the ages of 18 and 29 say that they do use TikTok versus less than 10% of people over the age of 65. And for the people between the ages of 30 and 65, they do use these apps just at a varying rate. And social media is not a bad thing. There's so many benefits to social media, such as keeping in touch with friends and families. I know that's how I keep in touch with a lot of my friends from high school and college. You make new connections, you can find opportunities, and even find love. There are people who find their spouses on social media. You can network with people that maybe you otherwise would never meet. You can learn new information. I mean, you'd be surprised what you can learn on the internet. It's so many things that sometimes I'm like, wow, I definitely did not know this, and I never even thought about this. But beneath all these positives are some sinister realities that manifest on social media platforms. And today we're going to focus on the one in question, which is the pushing of unrealistic beauty standards. Mary Shelley's Frankenstein tells a story of Victor Frankenstein, a scientist who creates a being by assembling parts from different corpses. This creature, although intended to be beautiful, becomes a grotesque monster due to its unnatural assembly. Similarly, the modern beauty standard often requires individuals to undergo procedures that combines features from different ethnic backgrounds to achieve a so-called perfect look. And sometimes it gets into that uncanny valley look. This allegory highlights the unnaturalness of the current beauty standards. Just as Frankenstein's monster was a patchwork of various parts, the modern beauty ideal is a composite of traits that do not naturally coexist within any single ethnicity. This pursuit can lead to identity crisis, where individuals lose touch of their natural features and heritage in favor of an artificial standard. So what does today's beauty standard look like? I think we all have an idea, but just in case you don't, let's go over some of the main things that make up today's beauty standard. The first thing is thinness. Thinness makes it up. I know the slim thick look was in, but thin never went away. And when I think of thinness, the first thing that comes to mind is the words of the model Kate Moss. She wasn't even the first to say, she was referring to a previous say, so she didn't come up with this, but it was, nothing tastes as good as skinny feels. That was literally her motto, and I know she thought she ate with that. But thinness has never gone away. Slim thick was in. Thinness never went away. We will get into the subculture of beauty, but right now we're talking about on top of society for a global scale. Thin is in. Thin has always been in, at least the past 100 years. And of course, thinness is often associated with whiteness or white ideals, as well as East Asian ideals. And the next one is a medium-sized bust, butt, and lips. This often comes from ideals of blackness. For boobs, I mean, I guess it's international, like black and white fall into either cultures. But when it comes to the butt, the reason why I didn't say it, a huge butt with big butts, is that I think the whole massive butt was more of a subculture thing than it was societal beauty ideal. But I do think butts are in, and now BBLs are becoming smaller. They still exist, but it is much smaller and less of a huge feature that demands your attention. But people can definitely tell when butt is there and when it's not. So that's why it's still in, and it's been in for about the past decade. And then of course the big lips, which is a feature of mostly black people. You can tell that by the rise of lip injections. Lip injections is one of the highest cosmetic procedures being done in the past decade. It's very popular. It's so popular that some people don't even see it as a cosmetic procedure. For some people, it's just part of their beauty regimen. The next beauty standard is tanned white skin, which mimics the look of mixed people, but it's tanned white skin. It's not dark skin. People sometimes want to be like, well, white people want to tan and be like black people. I don't think so. A lot of them want to look tanned, but as a white person. And oftentimes you can tell the difference between a black person who is naturally one skin color versus a white person who tends to look a certain skin color. But I don't think they want to look black, and I never thought of the black fishing, strictly black fishing. I thought it was more so mixed race fishing versus it strictly being a bunch of white people want to be black. I personally find a big difference between it, and maybe one day we'll do a bigger deep dive into it now that we're almost post blackfishing scandals. And then of course, straight hair, preferably blonde. So the straightness will typically be from East Asian, maybe South Asian cultures. I know like Indians, their hair, that's like the hair a lot of people like, preferably blonde, which will come from whiteness. So you see a lot of these don't exist within one culture. And I'm not saying there's not that perfectly thin white woman who naturally has a medium-sized butt, bust, big lips, straight hair, blonde, has like tan white skin. Maybe she exists. How attainable and how realistic is that for everybody? It's not. And that's the whole point of the beauty standard. It's not attainable for most people. I think a 2021 article by Natalie Morris for The Guardian puts it best. It is not mixedness that is being glorified then, but simply the aesthetic of ambiguity and, crucially, being close enough to whiteness. And that's the key word here, being close to whiteness. So if one ethnicity cannot possess all of the beauty standards, and by the way, there's more, those were just some that I picked out. If we wanted to go into all the beauty standards, we'll be here all day. It'll be several parts videos. We're going to stay on track, and we're going to move on to what happens when you realize that you don't fit that beauty ideal, or that one ethnicity, one person just cannot naturally possess all those things, especially as beauty evolves. It's ever evolving. And if people want to keep up with the beauty standard, they have only one option, which is to turn to cosmetic and plastic surgery. But before we deep dive into plastic surgery, I wanted to take a detour and dive in slightly on the subculture of beauty standards. Depending on your everyday environment, the beauty standards that directly affect you might look different versus what affects you when you go on social media. Being a person who was born into Black community and the African Black community, I was affected slightly differently on the beauty standard. Growing up, I was always considered way too skinny. While thinness is appreciated on social media globally or in the white beauty standard, in the Black beauty standard, slim, thick, has always been in, or at least for as long as I can remember. Now, it's not everybody, because slim thick is what has over time attracted the male gaze in the Black community. And while slim thick might seem easier to achieve than ultra thinness, do not fall into that trap, because it is not. Some people are naturally thin. I was naturally on the thinner side, so it's not like I could eat myself into slim thickness. But also, while people may scream thick thighs save lives, they don't want you to have it with a thick gut or a bigger gut. But that's what naturally comes with a lot of those things. Yeah, they want somebody who has the proportions of the Coke figure, but then they want it the way they do. They will still scrutinize cellulite, stretch marks, and a big stomach or a not flat stomach. But there is one beauty standard in the world. No matter where you are, you can't escape it. It lingers in every corner of the world. And that is a skin that is as close to white as possible.
Would you poison yourself to be prettier? Welcome to the 18th century, where beauty isn't pain. It's poison. Being white is beautiful. This is not a black versus white thing. It's actually not about race. It's about money. If you're wealthy, you don't have to go outside to work, so you don't tan. So if you're rich, you're very light. My white lead and vinegar paint can cause infertility. And since I'm a woman in the 18th century, my value is to give my husband babies. So I look beautiful, but I risk losing my value as a woman. I'm probably gonna go into menopause early and cause skin damage, but I can cover it with more lead paint. And to highlight how white my skin is, I'm adding blue veins. Eyebrows were crescent shaped and often drawn with lead because we needed more poison. And if you don't have brows, we can glue on some made from moose fur. Blush was either red or pink and a circle on the cheeks. Lips, a pink or coral pout. If it's giving porcelain doll, I did it right. And for my smallpox scars that the white lead paint didn't cover, beauty patches. And where I put it means something. Under the eye, passion. Forehead meant majestic, playful. If it was rumored that your makeup was poisonous, would you still wear it? Do you even know what's in your makeup?
So the lighter, the better. And in the Black community, that manifests in the way of colorism. And because that beauty standard has been thriving for decades, if not centuries, and continues to thrive today, so has the skin bleaching industry. A 2019 article in Vogue by Audrey Nobel reads, "It is an ancient process that can be traced all the way back to the 1500s and continues to be a thriving business, coming in all forms of soap, creams, pills, and injectables." Per a recent World Health Organization report, half of the population in Korea, Malaysia, and the Philippines use some kind of skin lightening treatment. It is even higher in India, 60%, and African countries such as Nigeria, 77%. It is also more common in the US than many realize, with bleaching agents such as hydrochloroquine commonly used in products that treat discoloration and hyperpigmentation. By 2027, the skin whitening industry is projected to be worth over $24 billion, but it's a business fraught with potential hazards. As someone who grew up in Ghana, not only did I see firsthand the prominent use of bleaching products, but also the result of long-term use of bleaching products, especially in a country that has so much sun exposure and also limited access and use of sunscreen. Let's move on to the next part, which is attaining and maintaining the beauty standards. Attaining and maintaining the beauty standard is not only psychologically tasking, but is also financially burdensome. Cosmetic procedures, plastic surgery, skincare products, hair care products, makeups are some of the few expenses that goes along with attaining and trying to maintain the beauty standards. The same article by Leah Donnella called Beauty in the Eyes of the Colonizer, decisions about who society holds up as beautiful also has a lot to do with class. Nell Irene Painter notes that a lot of things that we consider beautiful are just proxies for wealth. Think about how much it costs to get cosmetic surgery or braces or even a facial.
Clean girl aesthetic is peak toxic femininity. Hear me out. When people say they want a natural woman, what they actually mean is they want a woman with no visible signs of cosmetic intervention. And that has been the fashion for 250 years. Every year, natural beauty is repackaged with a modern buzzword and dished back up to us to create a further divide between the rich and the poor. Because achieving Hailey Bieber means shelling out the cash for mink eyelashes and not plastic ones, or having a job that gives you 2 hours to sit getting perfect gels rather than the $7 stick-ons from the drugstore that you will probably beat up because you work a job with your hands. And here is where I think where natural beauty is more insidious than cake faces. Because at least with the cake face, you get self-expression. Natural beauty has got nothing to do with self-expression and everything to do with hiding your insecurities, covering acne scars, fine lines, wrinkles, whatever. So you begin your day in the bathroom with the same old riddle, which is, what on this hideous canvas do I need to cover today? And then you get to work. Blotting, covering, hiding, contouring, all while strengthening your fear of aging and fear of ugliness. We are all walking around in varying degrees of fakeness trying to mask insecurities. So don't assume that just because you're attracted to the woman with the low ponytail and the dewy skin, that she is any more beautiful than her sister with extensions.
The cost of cosmetic procedures depends on where you live, what you're looking to do, and how much you're willing to pay for it. According to the National Society of Plastic Surgeons, the average cost of a rhinoplasty, which is commonly known as a nose job in the United States, is around $5,409, while a facelift can cost approximately $8,005. But I've heard of facelifts and neck lifts going all the way upwards of $250,000 for the top celebrity plastic surgeons. Liposuction is also another common procedure, and it goes for around $3,637 on average. And remember, this is just the cost of procedure. It does not include anesthesia, which a lot of these procedures you do have to go under anesthesia, as well as operating room expenses and other costs that comes with it. Sometimes getting well, you need an in-nurse to help you. If you say get a BBL and you can't really move around that much, you need somebody to help you for a number of days before you can really be on your own to care for yourself. In a way, people are treating their bodies like a house they buy for a flip, where you get a bunch of money, do renovations for a higher value, but this value is the value you hope to get in society in treatments and opportunities. I believe that when God created us, He did not do an incomplete job and give us our face and body as a suggestion of what we could look like, possibly, and that if we did more, we could look better. I see myself as a complete work of God. All I can do is do my best to take care of myself. And while it's not about me and my individual thoughts on this, it is really concerning that a lot of people go to the plastic surgeon's office not to just look like a better version of themselves, but they take a picture of another person, a celebrity oftentimes, to the plastic surgeon to try to look like that person. But the sad part about it is that some of those celebrities do not even look like that naturally. And they may not look like that in a few months or years because they're also trying to look like somebody else. And while taking a picture of a celebrity has historically been one of the best ways to show the plastic surgeon what you're going for, nowadays it is not uncommon for people to actually take a filtered picture of themselves to their plastic surgeon to look like that, what they look like with a filter on. A 2018 article in CBS called Snapchat Dysmorphia, Selfies, Photo Filters Driving People to Plastic Surgeries. Plastic surgeons are sounding the alarm on a disturbing trend that's emerged with growing popularity of social media. Patients seeking cosmetic surgery to resemble how they see themselves in Snapchat filters. This phenomenon, dubbed Snapchat dysmorphia, has people requesting fuller lips, bigger eyes, and thinner noses in order to look like the filtered or photo edited versions of themselves. This is an alarming trend because those filtered selfies often present an unattainable look and are blurring the lines of reality and fantasy for these patients. Researchers from Boston University School of Medicine, Department of Dermatology wrote in a recent article published by medical journal Gem Facial Plastic Surgery. And getting plastic surgery is not where it stops. It is actually where it begins for some people, because you still have to maintain that look, and often that comes in the form of skincare and makeup. The beauty industry is a multi-billion-dollar industry, and a significant portion of those is made up of makeup and skincare. A survey by Skin Store found that the average woman spends about $300,000 on face products alone in their lifetime. And you might be wondering how that is even possible, but high-end brands charge hundreds of dollars on a single product with the promise of anti-aging and beautifying effects. If you're lucky enough to be able to escape the consistent pandering by big companies, your luck might just end when you realize the pandering that is now being done by your favorite celebrities and influencers all over the internet. Because whatever the big companies can't sell you, your favorite influencer and celebrity probably will. While brands such as Fenty Beauty and Rare Beauty come off as authentic endeavors by their celebrity founders, most of the others come off as cash-grabbing attempts, and consumers see right through it, with the exception of their stands. Fenty Beauty by Rihanna recognized a gap in the beauty market, which disproportionately favored white-skinned and lighter-skinned women over black-skinned and darker-skinned women. She introduced great products at affordable price points to fill those gaps in, and in many ways forced many beauty brands who for so long refused or made excuses not to provide beauty products for black women or darker shade women to get into the competition. According to a May 2024 article in Tatler, more than 50 celebrity and influencers have launched makeup, skincare, and hair care brands between the years of 2020 and 2023. Somalian American model Iman was the first celebrity to create a makeup brand that embraced people of color. She started Iman Cosmetics in 1994. Remember the era where every celebrity had a perfume and a clothing line? This is very reminiscent of those times. Early 2000s, I think in the late 1990s, there was that too, but it was a big thing between like 1995 and I'll say 2015, and then that kind of went away. We dialed down with the celebrity brands, and then Fenty Beauty, and then all of a sudden all these other beauty brands came out of nowhere, and now every 3 to 10 business days there's a new celebrity or influencer dropping their brand which represents them in their most authentic form. Maintaining your hair to the beauty standards is also very expensive. Haircuts, coloring, extensions, and treatments such as keratin and Brazilian blowouts can add up. According to a survey by Look Fantastic, women spend on average $55,000 on their hair within their lifetime. But this average is disproportionately distributed. discredited. As a 2023 LinkedIn article discussed, Black women outspend other ethnic groups, allocating 9 times more on hair care products with expected value of $3.1 billion in the year 2023 and a projected market worth of $4.6 billion by 2032. It is anticipated for it to experience a compound annual growth rate of 4.3%. As a Black woman whose hair doesn't really fit the beauty standard, I have talked about this in my video, The Rise and Fall of the Natural Hair Movement. So if you've not watched it, go take a look at it. I think that's a great discussion that we had, and it's still relevant today. Now let's move on to the next section. Breaking news. New insecurity just dropped. When I think of the beauty standards, I think of it in almost an MLM type of way, where the companies are the top and they are harvesting all the benefits, which is our money. And how do they get that money? By pointing out our insecurities. If you don't know what an MLM is, it is multi-level marketing. And oftentimes you can spot them because they will give you a book to read, such as Rich Dad, Poor Dad, or The Go-Giver, which is the book that I got. One day I will probably sit down and tell the story of how I almost got stuck in an MLM twice, okay? Twice. Do I just look like somebody who would be in an MLM? I guess so, because they thought I'd be perfect for it. But then again, they do not discriminate when recruiting members, okay? They go hard. They will recruit anyone and everyone. But in MLMs, almost everyone loses money. And I'm not kidding. I mean almost everyone. According to a 2023 Forbes article, it states, but the truth is that 99% of people who participate in MLMs lose money, according to the Consumer Awareness Institution, as they struggle to resell products and recruit members for network marketing companies that often tiptoe the edge of illegality and hide the true cost of participation for participants. And those are those who do make money. I'm not talking about all those who actually make a living wage. That is an even smaller percentage. You're talking about just like about 0.1% of people who probably make some sort of a living wage within MLMs. And in our beauty standard, those are the companies. They are the 0.1% who make money based on the insecurities of others, because that is what the beauty industry is, that makes money off of our insecurities, pointing out insecurities you didn't even know you have. And guess what? When they point it out to you, they have the perfect solution for you, but it would only cost you your hard-earned money. Someone has an insecurity, they fall into the arms of the beauty industry and get things done that will make them feel better about themselves and feel like they better fit the beauty standards, and therefore they model the beauty standard to everyone else in their daily lives. They become a model, a representation, a manifestation of the beauty standards to those around them. So they have literally free marketing for the company, and whether they intend to or not, they then end up recruiting people for it. And that's why I compared it to an MLM. In that same 2018 article called Snapchat Dysmorphia, it also stated that now it is not just celebrities propagating beauty standards. It is a classmate, a coworker, or a friend. The pervasiveness of these filtered images can take a toll on one's self-esteem and make one feel inadequate for not looking a certain way. They say it may even act as a trigger and lead to the development of body dysmorphia disorder, or BDD, a mental health condition in which a person is preoccupied with the non-existent or minor flaw in their physical appearance. You know it is bad when plastic surgeons are literally complaining about it, because they see to profit from people's insecurities as well. But it feels like a new insecurity drops every 3 to 5 business days. Whether it is spraying your face so that you can see the non-existent hair on your face, so that you can shave it off or get it dermaplaned, or somebody asking you if you have doe eyes or siren eyes, and then the next person is asking you, are your lips the perfect kissable shape, or do you have hip dips, because that is apparently gross. So you have all of that, and then the OG insecurities of cellulite and stretch marks. Are we tired? Because I know I am. I have been filming so long that the sun is going down now. But we still have a lot to cover because we have to understand why people do this. So let's move on to the next section, which is the reward behind the pain. Pretty privilege. Why do people do it? It seems like a lot to go to attain and then maintain the beauty standard. But there has to be some reward, right? Because if there wasn't, there wouldn't be something that entices us to want that, to crave that. So there is a reward. And we are going to get those people who are like, oh, I'm doing it for myself. It's to feel better about myself. It's for me and me only. And that can be true, but we have to assess pretty privilege to get somewhere in answering this question. So what is pretty privilege? I'm pretty sure it's a term that you've heard over and over again if you're online. But what is it and why do people crave it? Pretty privilege refers to societal advantages and benefits that individuals deemed physically attractive receive. These benefits can manifest in various aspects of life, including personal relationships, professional opportunities, social interactions, and more. People with pretty privilege may experience preferential treatment, more positive attention, and greater opportunities simply by the way they look. Pretty privilege is not one size fits all because in order to receive it, somebody actually has to find you attractive. And you know what they say, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. I think that's what they say. But also there are people who everybody thinks of as like conventionally attractive. Say, for example, a Zendaya. I think most people find her conventionally attractive, but it doesn't mean that she will receive the same pretty privilege everywhere she goes. The value of your prettiness is different depending on the location and the people who are there to appreciate your beauty. But experiencing pretty privilege could be like getting better customer service. All of a sudden somebody tells you about the 20% off deal at the cash register that you can get, but you're not telling everybody. They're just telling you because they find you attractive. It could also just look like people being nicer to you, strangers, like you smile, they smile back at you, or at least they don't give you a mean face. In professional settings, you're more likely to get hired or promoted because people like the way you look. In everyday social life, that could also look like receiving invitations to a gala, a ball, or just getting more social invitations and opportunities. But then there's also the aspects of the halo effect that comes with pretty privilege, where you are perceived as kind, gentle, intelligent, and trustworthy. And that goes a long way. While pretty privilege can provide certain advantages, it also highlights issues of inequality and superficial judgments in society, where physical appearance can disproportionately influence how individuals are treated and evaluated. We're going to go back to that article, Beauty in the Eyes of the Colonizer. One thing to keep in mind is that beauty is a facet of power. Being considered beautiful can help you gain access to certain places or to increase your power in certain settings. By the same token, a perceived lack of beauty or a refusal or inability to conform to certain beauty standards also has really tangible consequences. Noliwe Rooks, a professor at Cornell University who teaches about politics of race and beauty, she says that women are placed in different categories depending on how they appear in the world. And that attempts to decolonize one's beauty routine often leads to pushback from the outside world, especially for Black and brown people. People magazine has an issue of World's Most Beautiful People and exemplifies this as everybody who was on the cover in the 1990s was white. The annual cover, which began in 1990, did not have a non-white person on the cover until its 13th issue in 2003. Halle Berry, a biracial woman, became the first non-white person to cover the magazine for the list. And Beyonce became the first Black woman to be on the cover in 2012, and Lupita Nyong'o in 2014, 22 and 24 years after the start of the list. As of 2024, Julia Roberts has been on the cover double the amount of times a Black woman has been, 4 and 2 respectively. But we just don't start getting bombarded with the ideas of beauty when we grow up. It starts in childhood. I think one of the most significant pieces of media that we consume as children in relation to beauty is Snow White, a classic fairy tale that undercovers the significant emphasis placed on beauty. Central to the narrative are themes of jealousy, vanity, and social value of physical attractiveness. In Snow White, beauty is a pivotal element that drives the plot and influences the character's motivation. The queen's obsession with beauty, Snow White's innocence allure and the prince's admiration all revolves around the concept of physical attractiveness. The story of Snow White reflects the broader societal attitudes towards beauty and its impact on individuals' lives. The emphasis on physical attractiveness as a source of power, worth, and love can be seen as commentary on social pressures faced by women to conform to beauty standards. So even from childhood, we are fed the ideas of beauty. Yes, all the Disney princesses are gentle and kind and loving and friendly, but they are also conventionally attractive. The prince's role in the story further emphasizes the importance of beauty. He falls in love with Snow White at first sight, enchanted by her appearance, even when she is in a death-like sleep. His love and subsequent kiss, which breaks the queen's spell, highlights the notion of beauty as a power of redemptive force. The prince's immediate attractiveness to Snow White underscores the fairy tale's trope that true love is often initiated by physical beauty, which segues into the next section of this video, which is beauty and relationships. Competition in the marriage market, where the illusion of scarcity is at play, but also the illusion of endless options is also at play. In this section, I'm not strictly speaking of the marriage market alone, but in the relationship market in general. So if you're one of those people who never want to get married, this still applies to you if you're looking for some sort of relationship in your life. My first thought process when it comes to the illusion of plenty of fish in the ocean comes in the form of dating apps, where I think there was even a dating app called Plenty of Fish. Wasn't that a thing? I'm pretty sure. But there are a lot of dating apps today. Tinder, Bumble, Cupid is one, Christian Mingle. There's so many dating apps out there for all of different kinds of people in the world. And dating apps have made people feel like they have more options in the world than they actually are. Because yeah, you're swiping on people, but that does not mean that they will swipe back on you as well. But it just feels like you have so many options. In the same token, while there is plenty of fish in the sea, you would hear people say stuff like the fish in the sea is dead, the sea is full of piss. Have you ever heard that? Throughout the world history of humans, there have never at any given time been so many people in the marriage market at any given point as there are today. Yet it feels like the number of people are still so scarce, especially if you are not on dating apps and you're only relying to meet people in person. And this puts the pressure to appeal to as many people as possible, whether you're on the dating app or in real life, because you always want to look your best. So on your dating apps, you want to take pictures, photoshopping your pictures, filtering it, trying to look the best so that people will swipe on them, so that hopefully they can find some form of meaningful connection that could hopefully lead to marriage. But even in your real life, you want to look as beautiful as possible when you go out so you can meet somebody. But it's like, where do you meet people? Do you go to the supermarket dressed to the nines so that in case you find your husband or wife at the supermarket, you just instantly connect? It just puts so much pressure on everyday people to always look a certain way and to appeal to as many people as possible with the hopes of finding your one true love and life partner. We have discussed so many aspects, literally till the sun came down. We need solutions, and this is the section where we're going to discuss some of the solutions that we can possibly be equipped with for our everyday lives. The beauty standard is not going anywhere, and we have to operate in the world that has beauty standards, but it doesn't mean we have to conform to the beauty standard. So I for one think that if you're in the marriage market, which is where a lot of people are competing, as long as one person finds you attractive and is good to you and you have the same value system, who cares what other people think? Who cares if other people find you attractive? If you are locked in with somebody, if you're married to a person, of course you still want to keep looking nice and beautiful, but you don't need to follow and keep up with the beauty standards day in and day out. It is exhausting. So focus on the people who would naturally appreciate your natural beauty, the way that you enhance it if you decide to do so, versus somebody who wants you to look like a completely different person. I for one, I'm sitting here, I'm wearing makeup. I know that I'm not going to go out in the middle of the street like looking raggedy. I'm not just gonna wake up and walk out. I still want to be presentable and put myself together and present myself in a good light, but I still want to look like myself. I'm not going to change myself no matter who. And if somebody was not looking for somebody who looked like me, there's so many people out there. There's 7 billion people in the world. In the marriage market, there are probably a good billion people. So I don't think you need to conform to be something else, because there's always going to be somebody who would appreciate your beauty. There's somebody else who doesn't. It's okay. It's okay that they want to appreciate some other type of beauty. You don't need to conform into that for them, because you might imitate it, but it's not authentic to you. And because it's not, you're going to be always chasing that. And because it's not naturally who you are, you're always going to feel less than. While there is a beauty hierarchy that must be acknowledged, we can start to divorce ourselves of these ideologies once we realize that there is no active participants who are truly winners. Even celebrities that are named the most beautiful people, except for Julia Roberts, who was named 4 times on the cover, most of the time the list is new every year. They move people up and down the list. And my thought process is, if that woman was the most beautiful last year, how come all of a sudden she's still not the most beautiful just literally 12 months later? Now there's a whole new beauty. And sometimes they're not picking celebrities who just showed up within the last 12 months. They're picking somebody else who's been there for years. Beauty is very subjective. I don't have solutions to fix the world's problems and to combat the fact that people who are seen as naturally beautiful, conventionally attractive, receive more opportunities and make more money over their lifetime than other people who don't benefit from the same pretty privilege. All I can do as a person is try to be the best I can in my field, be as intelligent and a subject matter expert within my field, which would hopefully benefit me in the long run versus chasing exterior beauty. And I know that's not always fun to say, but in reality, you can either focus on the exterior or you can just focus on what you know, what is in you mentally. And I think that would over time go further than exterior beauty, because somebody can always be prettier than you. And yeah, somebody can always be smarter than you. But when you become a subject matter expert and they need somebody who will perform, they just go for the person who can perform. Now, of course, this is more so in the intellectual field, not in the beauty field. Not if you want to be an influencer, model. That is all subjective and you're at the mercy of the people who are judging your beauty. There are also some things that we can do personally and naturally, such as looking at our diets and exercising regimens and routines and becoming better. I think there is nothing wrong with wanting to be the healthiest and the most fit version of yourself. I know that some people call it fat phobia, which I hopefully in the future will do a whole video on the body positivity movement, but that's something that you can get control of. Obesity has no rewards. So if you get into the most fit version of yourself, you can tap into the beauty standard while also not getting the negative sides of obesity, such as health problems, possibly dying early, and a whole list of other things that comes with being obese, especially morbid obesity. And waking up in the morning, taking a shower, making sure you smell good, you look good, eating the most natural ways still gives you a way of tapping into the beauty standard. Are you going to get the full-on effect? No, but just by your race, size, and class, there are a lot of people who will never, unfortunately, be able to tap into the full benefits of the beauty standard.
My beauty standards were obliterated when you get a paralyzed face.
You were a model before this.
Kind of makes you wrestle with what's it all mean? What's it all for? So much of our culture is infatuated with what we look like. What a waste. What a waste of a way to live. Our appearance is changing whether we like it or not, because the reality is we're all aging. So what a tragic waste to put all your identity in something that is not going to be the same down the road. We have this one life to live, and we're concerned with how we look? No. How about we're concerned with who we are, our character? What if we cultivate something beyond our appearance? That's really worth living for.
And we have finally reached the conclusion. The modern beauty standard, with its amalgamation of traits from various ethnic backgrounds, mirror the story of Frankenstein's monster, an artificial construction born out of the desire for perfection. This pursuit of an unattainable ideal not only leads to psychological and identity issues, but also imposes significant financial burdens. Understanding the theories behind the beauty standards and recognizing the extensive costs associated with it can help foster a more critical perspective on societal pressure and promote healthier and more inclusive definition of beauty. So I hope you enjoyed this conversation. I know it was a long one. Hopefully you learned something from it, because it's really important that we understand the financial burdens and ruins that we can put ourselves in trying to attain and maintain a beauty standard, when it's more easier for ourselves mentally and financially to focus on who we are and becoming the best version of who we are naturally. So I've said so much. Let me know in the comments section what your opinions are. Write as much as you can. Give any type of resources that you want to. I am here to listen. I'm here to read. And hopefully this is a conversation that is only beginning. We'll continue to dissect this and come up with some good solutions for ourselves, because we are living in this world and there are people who are younger than us, who are coming up after us, who need to know that the beauty standard is not something that they should be working to attain. If you're interested in reading the articles that I read to put together this video, I'll be putting them in the description box. But with all that being said, thank you all so much. Be sure to like this video if you liked it. I'm working so hard on it, so please give it a like, share with people, share on your social media, share with anyone who you think will benefit from this conversation. And I look forward to reading your comments, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.